Good morning, everyone, and it's really good to see you here, and thanks for taking time. I just wanted to acknowledge that a lot of you and a lot of people across the country will be very anxious about the situation that's unfolding with the conflict in Iran going now into its 9th day. And I know that people are watching that, they're concerned about that, and I wanted to reassure you about some of the measures that we're taking as a government. The first is the work we're doing with allies in the region, so the countries in particular that are under attack, many of the Gulf countries who obviously have played no part themselves in any attack on Iran are nonetheless being attacked. So as you would imagine, we're working very closely with them, helping with defensive capability. We've got fighter jets in there, and we've increased the capability there over the course of the last 9 days. Anti-drone devices, radar, and lots of other work that we're coordinating. And I've been speaking to all the leaders in the region, some of them a number of times over, to assess how they feel the situation is on the ground, what more we can do. These are allies, these are friends of our country we've been working with for many years. So that's what we're doing on that front. The second big issue is obviously we've got about 300,000 British nationals in the region. Some of them live there, have done for some time. Some of them are on holiday there. Some of them were just changing planes. And they're all very concerned about the situation they're in. And I know that friends and family in this country are very, very concerned because they want to know that their loved ones are safe. So we're working with commercial airlines, working with all the countries involved to make sure that, firstly, people register their presence. 300,000 are there in the region. 120-something thousand have registered their presence. That means we're in touch with them and we can help them, give them information and advice. And where they want to come home, make sure that with commercial airlines and charter airlines, we're providing the means for them to get back. Not always easy because the airspace is closed in some places for some of the time, depending on the threat levels. But we got 35,000 back so far, and we're working, as you'd expect, around the clock in relation to those operations. The third area I just wanted to address, because I think as we go into this sort of what feels like the second week of this conflict, a lot of people are going to begin to think, well, that's happening out in Iran and in the Gulf states, but I can sense it's going to affect me back here in the United Kingdom, particularly the economy. We've done a lot of work recently on the cost of living, which we know is the #1 issue for so many people across the country, and an anxiety about that. On the reassurance front, I think it is important just to remind ourselves that last time a conflict began to develop, which was 2022, in relation to Ukraine, the economy wasn't in a stable place, and inflation was 5% and rising. We've done a lot of work in the last 18 months to put some resilience in and make sure that we've got some headroom, which is basically some insurance within the economy, but also inflation is 3% and going down. So in that sense, there's more resilience. But the job of government is obviously to get ahead, to look around the corner, to work with others. And the Chancellor speaks to the Governor of the Bank of England on a daily basis. We're looking cross-departmental within government, assessing the risks, monitoring, and talking to our international partners as well about what more we can do together to reduce the likely impact on people here and businesses here, of course. But it is important to acknowledge that that work is needed because people will sense, you will sense, I think, that the longer this goes on, the more likely the potential for an impact on our economy, impact into the lives and households of everybody and every business. And our job is to get ahead of that, to look around the corner, assess the risk, monitor the risks, and work with others in relation to that. And then the final thing I just wanted to talk to you about, and we're going to have a Q&A in a minute so I can get the benefit of your views, which will be really helpful from my point of view, is this really sad feature in many ways of a conflict like this, which is some people will try to use it to divide communities in this country. and tear people apart. And we mustn't let that happen. I find one of the most powerful arguments that if you think of all the people who are stuck in the region, anxious about their own safety, wanting to get home, they come from all backgrounds. They come from all walks of life. And the last thing they want, or their families here want, is anybody trying to divide. Because this is a time when we need to come together as a country, stand behind our principles and our values, and not let people divide us. Put a lot of reassurance work in with both the Muslim community and the Jewish community in particular, because that's where people seek to try and find a divide. But we're also setting out our social cohesion plan today, which is a broader piece of work about how we bring people together as a country, make sure that we build on what we all care about, which is very much pride in our communities, pride in who we are as a country, pride, of course, in the places that we all come from. Everybody's got a pride about where they come from, and that real sense of making sure that we do integrate and we're one country standing together, particularly at a time like this, and that we bear down on extremism and division, because it's very important all the time to do that. It's particularly important at the moment. And so that's what we're doing as we turn into this week. So I think what you'll see is the focus going more to what impact might this have back in the United Kingdom. This will be happening across all countries, really, and really to reassure you about the work the government is doing to get ahead of that and to monitor the risk, assess the risk and work with others across our own government, but actually with other countries. Part of the response at a time like this has to be constantly talking to leaders in other countries, particularly in the region, but also across Europe when it comes to the economy and other measures. So that's all I'll say for now. I think I've got some questions from you, so this is your chance. Anybody got any questions that they want to ask? I think we'll do the old-fashioned way of putting a hand up, if that's all right. Yes, I'll try and do a question behind me whilst facing this way. It's always a skill, but hopefully I can master it. I think we've got a microphone coming for you so you can be heard.
Is that okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good morning. My question is, what are you doing to bring communities together in this world that is so divided, and what is in place?
Yeah, this is really important. I mean, it is a really sad feature, isn't it, of a time like this, that some people will try and use it as an opportunity to divide. So I think on two levels we're working. The first is we have to be really conscious that where people want to divide at the moment in relation to this conflict, it's in the space of trying to divide the Muslim community and the Jewish community. So we're working particularly on those two strands. There is a sort of broader cohesion plan that we've been working on for some time, which is not just a reaction to this conflict, obviously, is much broader, which is how do we bring the country together? One of my biggest concerns at the moment is that there's too many people in politics who want to set up grievances between different groups of people, to point fingers and divide and say that we can't be one country, we can't be one set of communities. I totally disagree with that. I think one of the great things about this country is we're a diverse country where we prove, actually, that different people can live alongside each other in a tolerant way with our values. And actually, that's more than just an observation on who we are as a country. It's what we are as a country. That is us. And we should hold that close. We should be proud of it. And so the cohesion plan is intended to make sure that everything is being put in place to support the work we're doing there. Let us go to another question. Yes, please.
So you plan to have a ban on social media for under 16-year-olds. Obviously, a lot of young people use social media and view it as an asset. How do you plan to actually consult young people more into policy making if this is a huge disagreement between you and young people?
Well, look, thank you for raising that. I see you've got My Life, My Say on, which is a great organisation that we've worked with for a long time. We're consulting on it, so no decisions have been made yet, and I want the voice of young people in that consultation. I'm very, very interested to hear.
How do you see that practically being happened, though?
Well, the consultation is just starting its course, so there are lots of ways you can get involved in that. I'll make sure my team give you all the details. But also, we need to set up discussion points. Maybe with My Life, My Say might be one way of doing it. It shouldn't be the only way of doing it. So we'll make sure that young people have their say. They must have their say in this, because there are different views here, and that's the whole point of the consultation. So thank you for raising that. Let me go across to this side of the room.
What are we doing about the housing crisis? What is being done about the housing crisis? There are 400,000 people homeless here in England alone. So
Yeah, well, there are two separate strands here. One is homelessness, where we've put in a huge amount of investment to deal with homelessness, to get people into shelter, but also more than just into shelter, because for many people who've got homelessness issues, it's about the support that needs to go in as well, in terms of maybe health issues, work issues, etc. So there's the roof over the head element to it. That is vital, but on its own it's not enough. Then secondly, we need to take the pressure points off in relation to people being made homeless in the first place. One of the pressure points is no-fault evictions for renters, and so we're getting rid of that. This is where, until recently, people could be thrown out of their rented accommodation through no fault of their own, and then that puts a pressure on them and on local authorities, making sure that all the work we're doing on the cost of living is making sure people have more money in their pockets, so they don't necessarily get into the difficulties in the first place. And so there's the preventative bit, but there's also, what do we do to support those who are homeless? There's a bigger picture here as well, which is we need to build more houses to make sure that everybody has a safe, secure place to grow up, whether that's somewhere they're able to buy and own of their own, or whether it's the rented sector. We passed the Renters' Rights Act, which is the biggest piece of legislation for renters, giving them rights in a generation. 11 million people are in rented accommodation. We should never forget that, and they need better rights. So there's a lot of stuff we're doing in that space. And take one last question, and I'm going to go to the media, and then I'm going to come round to your table so we can continue the discussion. Madam, if I may.
I work with young people who are at risk here. Do you mind if you need me to?
It's just otherwise we could.
Anxiety. I work with young people who are at risk here. The thresholds are really high for them to be helped, both of violence against them or children with special needs. Can you do something to get them the help at the right time so that they can go on to have better outcomes than they do?
It's vital that we do. All of the evidence is absolutely clear that you need to intervene early, because if you miss those opportunities, it can take a lifetime before you can turn it around. So putting more resource in. We've got a youth strategy which was put together with young people. I'm really pleased. We didn't do a youth strategy with politicians in Whitehall deciding what the youth strategy should be. We actually got young people in as a steering group and advice group to do it. And they said they need more resource, they need more support in the activities that they want to do, need more mental health provision in schools and support. We're looking at the SEND, the special educational needs in schools, to see how we can improve there. But across the board, we have to do more of that. I'll come back to you and have a discussion about it.